There is a small blind filly in a tower somewhere in Canterlot, carving snowflakes. As she's blind, she'll never enjoy the fruits of her labour. But every time it snows in a story, she can see it. This is Jade Singer Presents, showcasing short stories from all over Equestria and beyond. But first, a public service announcement. Because of recent events, I feel obliged to remind the library patrons of proper procedure when reading from the Cursed Bookshelf. First of all, while caution is appreciated, I should inform you that the bookcase itself is perfectly safe. It's the books that are cursed. Secondly, do not read anything out loud. That is all. Now, on to our first story, The Mist Mare by Heisman.
This is a story I prefer to call The Mist Mare, a white filly said in a spooky voice. The Mist Mare? What kind of story is that? An orange filly asked. Save the questions for when I'm done, if you would, please. Now then, where was I? Right, so this story is about the dreaded Mist Mare. The white filly switched off the lights and pulled away the curtains from the window, making the moon shine into the room. About once a month, during the clear night skies, revealing the full moon, a strange cloud of mist can be seen spreading throughout Ponyville. But that mist is not a creation of the weather ponies. No, this mist is of an evil nature. The thickness of the mist is constantly changing. Most of the time, it is too thick to see anything through it. But every now and then, a faint shadow can be seen in the very center, just as the shadow was carrying the mist that kept it shrouded. What's the shadow look like? Or does it even look like something? A yellow filly asked. I'm getting to that part now, the white filly said with an annoyed tone. So, whenever the mist gets thin enough to look through, one can see a pony, a mare to be exact. That mare has a wicked appearance. If a pony were to follow her, one would see that the mist mare leaves behind a trail of severely blood-stained hoofprints dissipating by the sight of sunlight. She is not walking properly either. Neither is she limping, more like slowly stumbling forth in the dark night. A pony once told me that she saw the mist mare up close. A twisted pony with a straight mane and tail, stained with blood from herself and her victims. On a quick look, there appears to be long objects jammed in her joints closest to her body, preventing her from walking properly. However, if you look closely, you can see that the objects in her joints are knives, thoroughly penetrating her body. If looking at her from the front, you can see a massive wound on her left shoulder, as if someone had used a hacksaw to saw through her collarbone. Knives penetrating her body? The yellow filly said with fear in her voice. Pfft, a sawed collarbone? Is that all? The orange filly rolled her eyes. But that is not everything, the white filly tried to interrupt. If you would listen closely as the mist mare is visible, one can hear her talk in a slurry way, saying words like party, cupcakes, and death. If a pony would be foolish enough to approach the mist mare, he or she would be doomed to a very painful and agonizing death. Because if you would lock eyes with the mist mare, she would do unspeakable things to you, plaguing and tormenting your very soul. What'd she do? The yellow filly asked with a trembling voice as she hid her head under a pillow. She would get you, the white filly shouted as she rose up on her hind legs with her front hooves in the air. At this moment, the bathroom door behind the three fillies quickly slammed open, making steam cascade out into the dark room, shrouding them. In the middle of the steam, the faint figure of a mare with straight hair and tail could be seen. A liquid was dripping from all around her body as she tried to talk with something in her mouth, making her words slurry. It's the Mist Mare! Run! The orange filly shouted as she dove under the white filly's bed. making her purple tail dangle and tremble in fear outside of the bedsheets. The mare, the yellow filly stuttered as she fainted. Oh, hi, Rarity. Already done with your hot shower? The white filly asked as she sat down, looking at the figure in the steam. The figure began spitting. Ugh, gross. Oh, Sweetie Belle, I got soap in my eyes and my mouth, and we just ran out of water. Could you be a darling and hand me a towel, please? Coming right up, sis, the white filly said with a smile as she walked into the room behind the white mare for a towel. Here you go, sis. The white filly reached the towel in her front hoof to the white mare in front of her. Thank you, sweetie. The white mare used her magic to wipe the rest of the soap and most of the water from her coat with the towel. Ah, much better now. Was that ghost story I taught you yesterday to any delight, Sweetie Belle? The white filly looked behind her at her two friends, one passed out on the floor and the other one hiding under her bed. After a few moments, she looked back at the white mare. Yes, I think I got the results I was looking for. The white filly walked up to the unconscious yellow filly on the floor and gave her a nudge, making her wake up in shock. No, don't take me, I'm just a little filly. The yellow filly looked up and realized she had passed out. Oh, it was you, Rarity. Sorry about that, my bad. Who's who? Is the Miss Mare gone? The orange filly backed out from her hiding place beneath the bed. The white mare and filly heartily laughed in choir. Calm down, Scootaloo, it was just a story. The white filly smiled at the orange filly. The orange filly flinched as she realized she had been afraid of a silly ghost story. Yeah, right. I knew that all along. The orange filly rolled her eyes, still with a tint of fear clearly visible. The white mare interrupted their conversation. Well, girls, why don't you all go into the kitchen and get something to eat before you go to bed? The three little fillies all nodded at the same time and walked into the kitchen while talking about the story they had just been terrified by. The white mare, however, walked up to the window and glanced up at the moon. It was sparkling brightly, just like the white mare's still damp coat. A tear slowly formed in her eye from the memory the moon brought to her mind. Not one day has passed without me feeling regret for what I did to you, my friend, the white mare thought to herself. A giant cloud of mist could be seen slowly creeping towards the Carousel Boutique from the direction of Sugar Cube Corner. The white mare slowly wiped the tear from her eye, as she shrugged and used her magic to quickly pull back the curtains, shrouding herself, as well as the rest of the room, in complete darkness.
There are stories, and stories about stories. And as I tell you this, I am writing a story. A story about a story about a story. Story, story. Story, story, story. Story. I am talking to a guard here in the studio who informs me that I got things backwards before. The bookcase is cursed, as it was carved during a full moon from a piece of wood salvaged from the Forbidden March. The guard adds that Celestia stated that the whole thing was, quote, Luna's idea. The books should be perfectly safe, but you should probably never read anything out loud anyway, just to be safe. Is it that hard to give me accurate information to report? Anyway, our final story is All Apologies by A Hooful of Dust.
In the town where I live, everything is the same shade of gray. All the buildings are old, all the people hide themselves away. Everything is falling and dying. It's the world going bad. Things used to be better before. But like people say, they always get worse. But not today. Today, something amazing happened. Something incredible that changes the whole world. Most of it is still gray and dying, but there's one little part of it that is colorful and wonderful. Today I opened up the front door of my house. On the doorstep, sitting in a box and looking up at me, was a tiny, rainbow-colored pony. I recognized her right away. It was Dashie from My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. She looked just like she did in Season 1, Episode 23, The Cutie Mark Chronicles. She was tiny and had no cutie mark of a cloud with a rainbow-colored lightning bolt on her flank. She looked up at me with her big eyes, and I knew right then and there that this was a special day. It was like I had been chosen. I had to keep Dashie safe, to raise her and protect her like a parent would. I picked her up and held her close to me and took her inside the house. She was so soft. For a while I just stared at her as I held her. I can't really believe what I'm seeing. She's just so perfect. She fell asleep in my arms. This is the best day of my life. I have to go to the store and buy her some food. I'm not quite sure what ponies eat. They eat lots of cakes and pies and cupcakes, but that can't be good all the time. I don't think I can feed her the same things I eat. But I would have to leave the house and leave Dashie alone. I'm not sure what to do. I find a solution eventually. I have a cat cage, the kind you put a cat in when you want to take it to the vet. I put her in there, so she's safe while I go to the store. It's not meant to hurt her. She'll be safe in that cage. She's tiny enough to fit inside with no problems. Stay right there, Dashie. I'll be right back. We have such wonderful days together, Dashie and I. We listen to old records. I give her books to read, like in Season 2, Episode 16, Reading It and Weep. Dashie really likes The Catcher in the Rye by Jade Singer. We sit in front of the television. It doesn't work anymore, but that's all right. There's only bad things to watch there. Bad things about the grey world. Except My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, of course. That's not bad. I like it very much. I've seen all the episodes. I hold her and stroke her coat. She's so soft. It makes me feel like everything is good with the world, that something as perfect as my Dashie could exist. I touch her a lot, when we're asleep in bed, when we shower to become clean. I have to hold her close when I clip her wings to tell her it's okay, and it's for her own good, and it's to keep her safe. I think she likes that. Today, Dashie called me father. Father! At first I thought of my own father. Then I thought about it some more. Maybe she meant it like the Almighty Father. A good father. I wanted to think of it that way, and I smiled at her. She smiled back. I love her more than anything else in the world. Today I took Dashie to the playground. I smuggled her there in my coat. It's not too far a walk, only a couple blocks. It's not different to the rest of the town. Grey, rotting, broken down. The only color comes from the weeds making cracks in the pavement. I push Dashie on the swing, the only thing that hadn't had the seat ripped away. She enjoyed sliding down the slide, too, even though someone had sprayed "faggot" across it in black spray paint. Sometime in the afternoon, I began to feel watched. Was there somebody there? Nobody ever came here. They all always stayed inside, kept to themselves. Has someone noticed my Dashie? Someone who wants to take her away from me? I have to check. Okay, she's still asleep. The curtains haven't moved either. That's good. The playground. It turns out someone was watching us. It was a bum, a hobo, a jobless, dirty, greasy, filthy drain on society. He's the cancer that's eating away at this country. He was wearing a suit, but it hadn't been washed in weeks. Maybe months. His hair was wild. His eyes were wilder. He was mumbling some words. I couldn't tell if it was to himself or to me. But I knew he saw Dashie. He saw her, and he started walking towards her, mumbling his sewer words with his dirty hand held out. I did what anyone would do. I did what any good father would do. I ran at him and pushed him to the ground. He went down easily. He was probably already drunk, because hobos are always drunk and dirty. The smell was terrible, but I barely noticed it. He shouted things I couldn't understand, and when I kicked his jaw, he kept screaming louder and louder. All the noise might have brought someone out of their house, even if nothing else ever does. I had to get him to be quiet. I had to get him to be quiet. I kept kicking, and he kept screaming and screaming. Eventually, he went quiet. I then rushed to Dashie. She had watched the whole thing. She must have been terrified. She couldn't have understood that what I had done, I did to protect her. She's not a violent pony, even though she does things like kick dragons in Season 1, Episode 7, Dragon Shy, and destroys barns in Season 2, Episode 3, Lesson 0. I picked her up and held her close and stroked her and told her I had to protect her. There are so many bad things in this world, and I have to protect her from all of them. I told her I was protecting her all the way home. I kept telling her, she's asleep now. My Dashie is safe now. When she fell asleep, I went back to take the hobo away. Nobody had found him, aside from the crows. I chased them off and found a dumpster. There are so many dumpsters in this town. Not a single nice little house with a picket fence, but so many dumpsters. I put him in the dumpster, and I threw my shoes in with them. They were ruined. I couldn't use them anymore. I closed the lid to keep out the crows. Then I walked home in bare feet. Dashie was still asleep when I got back. I have to get out of here. I have to get us out of here. This town is not good for Dashie. She's looking more stressed than she was in Season 1, Episode 16, Sonic Rainboom, before performing in the Best Young Flyer competition. Ever since that day in the playground, she's worried someone will come for her. Someone not nice. Someone who will want to take her away from me. I keep the curtains closed the whole day and we stay very quiet, but she's still worried. Maybe we could move away. We could move out of this town and go out to the country. Out in the country, there are nice houses with picket fences. The country is where ponies belong, not in dying towns where the only color is gray. We could move away from this town. We could move away from this house. I had a dream tonight. In that dream, I understood that a rainbow is all the colors of light, and if you put all those colors together, you get white light. White light is the most pure, perfect light there is. That's what my Dashie is. White light. Pure and perfect. She's perfect. I won't let that terrible world ruin her. Because she's perfect. There's nothing wrong with her. Nothing wrong with her, Mother. She's perfect, Mother. She's perfect, Mother. She's perfect, Mother. She's perfect. She's more perfect than anything. Do you hear me, Mother? There is nothing wrong with her and she is perfect. I can't believe what happened today. I'm not a good father. I made Dashie cry. She said she could smell something bad in the house. But there's nothing bad in the house. Not anymore. Nothing smells bad. but she kept saying there was something she could smell, that it smelled bad. We argued. I had to put her in the cat cage again. It was for her own good. She's still a little bit mad at me, but I think she'll forgive me. I hope she does. I love you, Dashie. I don't want to hurt you. I only want to protect you. There's nothing bad in here. We're moving out today. I packed all my things into a bag and explained to Dashie that she would have to go into her cat cage again. She understood this time. We're going to find a nicer house to live in, somewhere out in the country, away from this gray city. Maybe it will have a picket fence. That'd be nice. I thought it would be hard to leave this house. Turns out it was very easy. There's nothing to stop me going anywhere I want to. The house we found is wonderful. It's perfect. It's almost like a farm. It reminds me of the barn that Pinkie Pie paints for Applejack in Season 2, Episode 18, A Friend Indeed, during that song about smiling. There's lots of room for Dashie to run outside and no other houses for miles. There's a television, but I make it broken like that old house so Dashie can't see anything bad on it on accident. There won't be anything bad in this new house. I can see us being happy here. The house belonged to 2 other people, but they're gone now. We dug up the garden in the back. We thought about growing crops. Maybe corn. Corn would be nice. I think ponies can eat corn. Dashie cried a little. It was the hard work. The digging. Hard work can be stressful. Woke up tonight and the walls were covered with spiders. They were everywhere. I squashed as many of them as I could before they all ran off to wherever spiders go at night. Dashie tried to help squish them, but she kept missing. I tried to make it a competition because I know Dashie is very competitive from Season 1, Episode 13, Fall Weather Friends. I don't think she could see the spiders very well in the dark. A man came to our house today. He was a policeman. He tried to trick his way into our house. My Dashie isn't even safe from the law. The world is ruined. She was telling me not to, but I explained that I needed to do it. He couldn't tell anyone where my Dashie was. Then all of the police would know. I'd never be able to protect her from all of them. I tried to explain again about keeping her safe. I don't know if she listened. I don't think she's talking to me. I haven't slept. I've got to stand guard. They want to take you, Dashie. They want to take you from me. I don't know who. Maybe it's your friends. Maybe it's Princess Celestia. Maybe it's the terrible gray world. But they're coming. I'm not going to let them. It's all of them. Twilight Sparkle and Applejack and Pinkie Pie and Rarity and Fluttershy and Princess Celestia. You can't go with them. They're beating on the door. You have to stay with me, Dashie. I know how we can stay together. How we can go to that place of white light. We just have to drink this together, okay? 1, 2, 3. I know you haven't wanted to talk to me for a couple of days, Dashie, but this will make things all right again. I promise. I'll protect you. I promise. You just need to drink. I'll protect you, and you'll say you love me and call me good father and laugh and... Why haven't I heard you laugh? I've heard you speak, but I've never heard you speak. When did you speak to me? Oh, there's lights outside. Red, blue, red, blue. Can I really believe what I'm seeing? When did I buy a cat cage? I've never owned a cat. I've never owned a cat. It smells terrible in here. If I've never owned a cat, why do I have a cat cage? Dashie, do you know?
My land is bare of chattering folk. The clouds are low along the ridges, and sweets the air with curly smoke from all my burning bridges. But that's a story for another time.